It's good to have you join us again for another edition of the Diaspora here on the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. I am Makut Simon Macham. Now, this week we'll be talking about the 2019 elections as far as the diaspora is concerned. What are Nigerians in the diaspora saying about the 2019 elections? And of course, it's no news that they will not be voting in these elections from where they are. But what are they saying? Are they following the process? And what are their expectations? Also, in the program, we'll be talking about the issue of rampant divorce cases in the diaspora, particularly in the United Kingdom. And we have a Nigerian based in the UK who deals with these issues and will be telling us his stories. Let's begin with the thoughts of Nigerians in the diaspora on the 2019 elections. What are they thinking about the elections? They are not going to be voting from the diaspora, but of course, they are following the process and they are thinking of what should happen during and after the elections. My colleague Joy Osiago in Canada spoke with some Nigerians on the 2019 elections and of course engaged the Nigerian High Commissioner to Canada on his thoughts about the election also. Here is Joy Osiago.
All over the world, people are looking now to invest, to be part of the growing economy. And this is what we'll be looking for in the new election: stability, peace, and prosperity for Nigeria. I will urge the people of Nigeria to really look into the candidates, not just the party, to look at the people that will represent them, to look at the character, the pedigree, the experience of the people that are vying for this position, and elect credible, corrupt-free candidates that will move Nigeria to the next level. It's unfortunate that we here in diaspora cannot vote. However, we are looking forward to the Nigerian people to go out there in mass and select somebody that will put the people's issue at heart and that will move the country forward.
What Nigerians should just have in mind is a common goal. You know, inclusiveness, not looking at what's being handed to them now, but including their future that is yet unborn. All right, because if they have that as their focus, they would not, shortchange themselves now. They'll be able to make decisions with the next 20 years in mind. What they should be looking out for is not as much as someone that has experience, because right now, based on those that are up for election, we have some of them that in quote and unquote say they have experience, but they should look for those that are genuine, those that are sincere. So if you vote in someone that cannot relate with your realities, there's no way the person would understand that situation and be able to put steps in place to change it.
Moving forward for any time, we need somebody with integrity. Integrity is the number one issue in leadership. A leader that behaves like the people, not above the people. A leader that can associate with the common man is what we need. A lot of discussions go around age. As far as I'm concerned, it's not a factor for me.
Yeah, at least you can see the progress of campaigning now. It's a peaceful, gradual election campaign that has never been seen for years. So you can see the change.
I've seen a lot more engagement, from the general Nigerian populace, both home and in diaspora, and that's really very encouraging. We should look deeper into individual integrity, accountability, the track records of individuals and how they have delivered not only on their affiliations, to godfathers or to parties, but we should, have access to these individuals, ask them questions. For every line, all right, of promise that they make, we want them to match with a budget on how they will raise resources, to implement those projects. So we should, stop seeking for promises, but we should look for how these individuals can match those promises with the realities.
The idea that, people are not looking for money before they can vote, it's a step in the right direction. We need to pay attention to not only who becomes the president, but who represents your riding in the National Assembly. The reason being that these are the lawmakers, these are the people that are really, really very important for you to communicate with, to monitor. And you should not vote because of a party. A party is good, but you should vote the candidate that you feel best going to represent your interest in the National Assembly. They are the most important one, because the president is only one. The candidate in the National Assembly, who are the lawmakers, can make or break a country. Here in Canada, that's what we do. We vote, we know everybody personally that represents our riding, either from the local level, from the provincial level, and from the federal level. We interact with them, they live among us, and we can monitor them, and if they stop representing our interests, we vote them out.
Many of us here would want to go home, go back to a Nigeria that everybody has a stake. Apart from people who are card-carrying members of the political parties, I would advise that every other voter should vote according to his conscience. They should vote according to people who they think will do what they want, people who will do what they say they will do. I know that party members will be obliged to vote according to party lines because they have chosen their candidates. But if it's necessary for them to vote for anybody that will do better than their party man, well, so be it. So I would advise, first of all, that every registered voter should spend just that one day in 4 years to go and do the real thing. Go and vote. And when you vote, you stand by your vote. Make sure you protect your vote.
I've had the opportunity to travel to a number of different provinces in Canada. One general observation, which I feel the need to make, is that Canadians of Nigerian descent tend to be quite well informed, quite well educated, largely quite accomplished, and somewhat professional in outlook. And so to that extent, they tend to view what goes on back home from a more informed perspective. They don't take things on face value. Their feeling about what's going on back home right now positive, to the extent that they believe that we're moving in the right direction. There may be concern about the fact that things are not as good as they could have been, but there seems to be the realization of the fact that the present administration met a very, very difficult situation when they came into office, and the process of putting things into the kind of shape we want things to get into will not happen overnight. So I get the sense that to a large extent our people in Canada are relatively satisfied, even though they like to see things happen a bit quicker. And perhaps to go into just a little bit of depth, I think they get the sense that efforts geared towards restructuring the economy are on course and appropriate. I must also point out that some of the reports that we've been hearing over time, which I tend to draw attention to when I meet with people in Canada, whether they're investors or Nigerians based here, things like having moved up on the World Bank ease of doing business ranking by 24 positions in 1 year is no small feat, or being regarded as one of the top 10 best performing economies by the World Bank is not a small feat. So all those matters tend to give us the impression, the Nigerians here, the impression that we are moving in the right direction. I think they'd like to see their people back at home come to a place whereby they begin to enjoy the economy a bit more, but that would take time, and I think they understand that. I also get the sense from talking to our people, Nigerians in Canada, that the government's effort geared towards battling corruption is well received and is something that they're quite pleased about.
Now let's move to other issues. By now you may have read some stories about some Nigerians having marital issues, of course leading to divorce in some cases around the world. But in the United Kingdom, the issue appears to be rampant. And of course, a Nigerian that deals with those issues in the United Kingdom, Obi Mark, visited Nigeria recently, and we sat down with him to discuss this and other issues. Here's our interview with Obi Mark. Under what circumstances did you go out of Nigeria?
Well, when I moved over to Germany in the 90s, I left the university, the University of Jos, and after my National Youth Service, I just wanted to see the world. So because I have lived all my life in Nigeria, from primary school to secondary school to the university, the moment I finished from the uni, I just wanted to see what the outside world is like. So that's basically the primary motivation. So I moved to Hamburg in Germany, where I lived for like 12 to 13 years before I left for United Kingdom.
So all this while, what's your specialty, both in in Germany and the UK? What area are you working?
Well, while I was in Germany, I was into social services, and that's actually where the flair for picking up issues concerning Nigerians in the diaspora started. I used to look after Nigerians, and most of them that had issues, we tried to champion their problems by liaising with the Nigerian embassy in Germany, and overall, looking after our people in Germany. And when I left Germany to the UK, after a couple of years, my passion for this particular interview today was triggered because of things happening in the UK, especially in London. Now, I was in the US 2 years ago, and last year again I was in the US. I was in Texas, and there's lots of Nigerians living in Texas. I visited a couple of cities. I was in Dallas, I was in Houston, I was in Katy. Now, what shocked me is most Nigerian families I visited in America, you find out that out of every 10 families that you visit, 8 of them are not functioning families because the parents are separated, divorced. And at the end of the day, you find out that the people at the crossroads are the children. And then I heard stories of Nigerian men killing their wives. It was rampant. Some end up shooting their wives. And then I think the reasons for this was basically financial. Now, most people I spoke to on this particular issue, the reasons I got from them was that most of the women fall out with their husbands because when they start making money, especially when they study nursing and begin to make 4 or 5-digit salaries, the men wants to control their wealth because most of these men married them, brought them over, trained them in school, and then at the end of the day, they want to rely on the money the women are making. Some of them don't even want to work anymore. And then that's where the squabbles, the trouble start. And then before you know it, they are divorced. And then the children are the ones that suffer. Then, again in the UK, the passion started growing more and more because of the experience, everyday experience in the UK. It's even gotten to a point that the Metropolitan Police in London had to come in. They had to bring in some Nigerian police officers, basically Yoruba police officers that work for the Metro, to go to churches where Nigerians worship, to preach to women, to stop calling the police on their husbands and stop breaking their homes. The reason why the police is doing that is because they noticed that most gang-related problems, you know what, there's this thing that happens in the UK, they call it the postcode gangs, where basically every street has youths that belong to gangs. They kill each other. Every day you hear people are stabbed. And in any situation where you see that Nigerians are involved in such crimes, you find out that they are children from single-parent homes. There's no father presence in the family anymore.
Would you say there's any kind of cultural interpretation of the environment that Nigerians find themselves in the UK or in the US that influences this?
Yes, I was just coming to that. And this is evident from the fact that marriages that were consummated in Nigeria, people that got married in Nigeria were living happily in Nigeria as a couple. The moment the family relocates to Europe, in most situations, that's when the family breaks up.
Why?
Now, the reason is that there's a culture in Nigeria, or the belief in Nigeria, which I believe everybody understands, that the man is the head of the home. But then overseas, men also have to understand that the laws in place, especially in the UK, is different. The queen is a female. You cannot live in the UK and you want to abuse women. First of all, you don't even try domestic abuse, because the first time you hit a woman, your life is over. They put you in the domestic abuse violent register. You might not even be able to get good jobs anymore, because it will come up every time you want to go for something. So people need to understand that the society is different, and that the society is that of equality. There's no this, I'm the head of the home. You have to understand that you and your missus are equals in that society. And that's basically where our problems starts. You find out that there are people that work. You're working, you're making money. Your wife is working, your wife is making money. She goes out every day, she does 12-hour shift. She comes back home, you do the same, then you sit down watching television, and you expect her to go to the kitchen without even helping out. She will go to the kitchen, make food for you. Some of them sit down, wait for the woman to even pass the food on the dining, take the plates out, clean the plates, clean the house, does everything herself. After some time, the woman it begins to irritate her because you're not helping. And don't forget that in Nigeria, you have house helps that you can pay as a man to assist your woman, assuming you're not the domesticated type. Such things are not overseas. So men need to realize that you have to help out the women. And you also have to realize that the society where you live is the one that respects women. So domestic abuse is off the table. You don't try such things. You also have to realize that you are an equal. Your wife is a partner to you. There was a family I spoke to. This was a beautiful marriage for 10 years, and all of a sudden, it was the wife of the man that called me that their marriage is broken down completely. I tried to find out the reason, and the reasons they were giving to me was just funny. Things that shouldn't split a relationship, especially when you have children involved. I called the man on the phone. I said, "What's the problem?" And he said the most annoying thing about his wife is that his wife will wake him up, will order him to wash plates. I was laughing. I waited for him to finish. I said, "Do you hit your wife?" He said, "No." "Do you pay your bills?" He said, "Of course he pays his bills." "So what's the problem?" "The problem is domestic. The wife feels she's overworking, the husband doesn't help, and she's a working woman too. She earns salaries, she helps you to pay bills, so why wouldn't you help with? I said, what is wrong with washing plates? I said, listen, if it offends you that she tells you to do that, then just do it before she opens her mouth. And like that, you will have your respect and even the love. So people break up for reasons that really don't make sense. For instance, you'll be surprised that Nigerian men that are married to white women succeed in their marriages. I don't know how that works. You will see a Nigerian guy that is married to a white British female or a German woman for 10, 15 years. No issues. When he gets out of the marriage and marries a Nigerian woman or a black woman, problems will begin. And you know the reason? The reason is the culture. The culture of the fact that men are dominant in relationships, which they don't try out with the other races. They understand the culture, they try to follow it. You understand? You know that the culture of marriage in Nigeria is different. If you are moving overseas, just behave the way it is done there. Don't stop this bossy kind of behavior that we carry along here, because that is what is, you know, breaking up a lot of families. So my advice is, understand that it is a different scenario. If you're the type of man that molests women in Nigeria, know that there's no chance doing that overseas. You will end up in jail. Okay? And there are even situations, the worst ones, you know, the things that happen as a result of this breakdown of marriages. There's this instance where these women, some of these women, the marriages break up, they move on. The man is gone. Then they'll bring in a new relationship. Some of them have children, girls, you know, that are 16, 15, 14. There are situations where this new relationship, these new men that come into the family, abuse the children. Because it's not their children. And some men being who they are, they abuse the children. So at the end of the day, you've not only succeeded in wrecking your marriage, you've also succeeded in wrecking your own family, the whole family generally. So it's a big problem that everyone has to contribute his own quota. Because making Nigeria great is just not, it shouldn't start and end with politics. You know, we are raising a generation, future generation that is going to be responsible to this country. And whatever problems that we are having now has to be nipped on the bud before it gets really, really bad.
Our interaction with Obi Mark brings us to the end of the package for this week. Thank you very much for watching. On behalf of the rest of the team and indeed everyone who has made this program successful, my name is Makut Simon Macham, and I invite you again to join us next time for another edition. Until then, bye.